So Rehan, Kavya mentioned that you are one of the most successful VCs. I would probably call you one of the most successful founders. Uh, I graduated in 2012. That was the time when probably you were exiting your startups, trying to found your venture capital firm. And that was a new kind of a playbook you were writing at that time, right? In fact, we did not have examples of founders exiting companies and putting up institutional VC firms being funded by LPs. That playbook was not there then. So for us, people who were aspiring to become founders, that was a new career opportunity that was coming up. So probably currently, I think from what I remember, you are managing around 2,000 crores as AUM, and you have just closed your fourth fund. But let's look back. Let's go to 2013 when you founded Orios Ventures. What was your mindset? It was very new playbook, right, that you were writing. So how did you come up with the idea of founding a firm that, that professionally managed?
Yeah, hey. Hi everybody. Thanks for asking me that question. So I started off my career as a founder, and I built 3 companies, and 2 of them were in tech. And while I was on my 3rd company, I started making, backing startups on the side, right? Back then, it wasn't called angel investing. We didn't know the term angel investing. We just knew that we were backing companies. And because I was a tech founder, I was able to understand these businesses well. So I started investing in them. I went on to become one of the co-founders at Indian Angel Network. I founded the Bombay chapter of Indian Angel Network. And while I was an angel, and I had many interesting companies in angel, you may have heard of some of them like Ola Cabs, Dhruva, then there's Eat Club, which is Box 8, and many others, right? What I noticed is that there were institutional investors, VC funds, at the Series A and B level, but they weren't seed funds. So we as angels would have to do multiple rounds of financing to get them to the Series A level. So then the idea occurred is, hey, why don't I set up a seed fund? And that was the genesis of it. We went on to set up the seed fund. It was one of the earliest seed funds in India. And now we are 4 funds deep.
That led to starting of a new trend, right? I think Fundamentum Partnership came up, then Kunal and Rohit founded Titan Capital. So new kind of a playbook was set up. From there to now, say what has changed in the way you operate, or from the time you founded, the mindset? Has there been any specific changes?
Right. So, I've been doing this now for 17 years, right? I started in 2008 as an angel investor. About 5 years ago, there was a particular insight that we developed. And the insight was our greatest companies in our portfolio were companies which had pivoted, right? So if you look at, even if you look at large and famous companies, right, you will see that in their journey there has been a pivot, right? Look at Reliance Industries. Reliance started off originally as Vimal. They did that, and then they pivoted to, if you saw the movie Guru, the whole polyester thing, and then of course Mukesh joined the business, and then they did petrochemicals. He was a petrochemicals engineer. If you look at contemporary companies, right, one of our companies, Country Delight, the insight the Country Delight boys had in 2013 is that Amul is largely reconstituted from powder. That's how Gujarat Cooperative, right, which is what the brand name Amul is of, supplies all of India. They send powder and then they sort of bring it back to milk. So they said, we should have a new age iteration of this. We should have an iteration in the 2000s of doing fresh milk. So they originally set up a dairy. In fact, the company's name is Bijapuri Dairy Private Limited. They did that for 3.5 years, and then they realized the problem was on the marketing end, the B2C end. So they pivoted to becoming the brand Country Delight. In their first avatar as the brand Country Delight, they did it in glass bottles as a premium brand. And then they pivoted to doing it in packets, right? So what you see is, and if you look at company upon company, right? Amazon versus Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble doesn't exist. Amazon pivoted from books and did all kinds of things and became the great company it is today. PayPal started off as a financial services supermarket and then pivoted to the payments part of the business. Instagram started off as a location-based social network and then pivoted to the photos part of it. You see this in every company. So we said, hey, why don't we only invest in companies which are pivoted? Because when they pivot, right, two things happen. One is that the model is more tuned to the market, and the second is that their valuation is very nice, because the market looks at pivots negatively, so there's a valuation reset. So that's what we do now.
It's quite interesting. Like, pivot obviously is part and parcel of any founder's journey to startup. But I mean, the way you have integrated that into a thesis and how that is giving exceptional return to you is very nuanced, right? I mean, in fact, when I was looking at the slides that the company have put up, it was very interesting to technically look at how it generates alpha for you. So probably, can we have that slide, please? I was in fact. There was one slide particularly which I think was relevant that we can put up.
Yeah, I think there's only one slide.
Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. Yeah. Can you just explain the technicalities here? I mean, how do we understand this? Yes.
So this is how valuation of a company typically proceeds, right? The company launches, and you can see that the value, right, goes up, and then they pivot, and then you get a valuation reset, which comes down there where we put the arrow, and that is the point at which we like to enter, and from there then the value again climbs, right? So what you do is you end up getting companies which are 3-4 years old, but the price is as if it's a beginning company, right? So what it does to our fund portfolio is that it starts showing the resilience of a mid-stage deal, like a Series C, Series D deal, but acquired at the price of a seed deal, right? And that's what then gives you extraordinary performance in the portfolio.
I mean, you also have made some of the exits recently. Can you, give some specific numbers in terms of return? You made? Whatever is in public domain, I'm not sure. Yeah, whatever you want to quote, yeah.
I mean, since I spoke about Country Delight, so Country Delight, they had pivoted, right? And because they had pivoted, nobody wanted to invest in the company, because, see, the market looks at pivots as failures, right? That you pivoted, so same thing happens in the public markets, right? In the public markets, if you've had a bad quarter, your price drops. You may have had a lot of learnings in that quarter, but the market doesn't recognize that. The same thing happens over here. So Country Delight, we picked it up, on the low, because they had pivoted to the plastic packets model. And I think on a blended basis, the last round that we exited, which was about 2 years ago, on a blended basis from Fund 1, it was a 45x. But if I look at the very first round that we had put in, it was more than 100x on it. And it's still growing, right? It was only a partial exit. So that's what happens when you get these kind of fantastic opportunities.
So technically, Rehan, it looks very interesting. But as a founder myself, the point when we are pivoting, or when we know that this specific thing or the vision that we are working on probably needs some change, it's culturally very draining for the company. Even for founder, it's very difficult to come out of that phase, right? And your entire strategy lies around investing in such companies. So how do you emotionally manage the founders and the team? How does that work?
So I always tell this to my colleagues. Superman is not the person who was born on Krypton and flies around. Supermen are these people, right? Superman and Superwomen are these people who got beat up and got up again, right? Went through that emotional drain, everybody telling them, their mom telling them that, okay, give up now, right? And they got up again and they did it again. That is Superman, right? And it is not us that does it to them, it's they who do it to themselves. They are amazing. Right? And those are the ones that you want to back.
Technically, in terms of valuation, obviously you know that the company has pivoted, so valuation would be conducive for you to get in. But are there other technical signals or say matrices that you follow to understand is the right time for the company to invest in?
Of course, it's not just pivots, right? You have to look at pivot plus inflection. So that means, you pivoted, and then, so typically after you pivoted, we would track you for 6, 9 months, 12 months, right? See if the pivot is working and how it's doing, right? Not all pivots work. So you want to see that the pivot is working and then invest in those.
And how do you know pivot is working? In terms of matrices, what tells you that the pivot is working?
You start getting sales, and you start getting repeats to the sales, right? So like Country Delight, when they pivoted from being a dairy to the premium brand, the problem in India by being the premium brand is the market was very small, right? And then they were getting customers who would originally buy into the idea that हाँ fresh milk है तो ले लो, but after 3 months the customer would drop off because they don't want to spend that premium on it. But when they pivoted to the plastic packets, you started seeing a lot of stickiness. So we invested about 9 months or so into them doing it in plastic packets. And what we noticed is that 80% of the customers were still continuing with them. And that was the proof of concept that we needed.
I think that's amazing. Very recently, I don't remember exactly where I was reading it, but then there was somebody saying, and somebody, I think of repute, saying that the business is all about keeping your customers. So if you can keep your customers, then you are doing right in your business, I think.
Without giving a lot of discounts.
Yeah, so probably.
That's the wrong way to keep customers, right? As we all know.
Yeah, true. Okay. Coming out of the VC mode, you work also with a lot of families, this being a family office summit, and probably can we talk about how family offices, how do you work with family offices as LP? How does the co-investment work? In fact, you are very closely working with them, right? So can you please talk about that? Yeah.
Yeah, we have, a lot of family offices as our LPs. And I think the family offices that like to work with us because of our pivot thesis are the kind of family offices that are looking for a very high alpha strategy, right? So we don't run large funds. Our funds are always very contained in size because, we like to deploy, we're like Mighty Mouse, right? Small but powerful is the way we like to say it. So our funds are contained in size. They're not very large. So you can't deploy huge amounts of capital into our funds, but you can get that 6x, 7x, 8x kind of multiple on the fund. So those are the kind of family offices that like to work with us. And some of the family offices like to co-invest, but I always tell the family offices that please don't make 1 or 2 investments as a co-invest. If you're going to do co-invest, then please do a portfolio of them because, 1 or 2 is just too risky, right? So that's how we like to work with them.
Got it. In terms of sector pick, right, what I know is hot today is generative AI. Okay. So, but say next 12 months where you are looking at, what are the top picks from your side?
So, I was telling this to somebody, do you know where we are not investing? We're not investing in generative AI right now because we are waiting for the pivots. Right now it's so hot, everybody's being invested in Gen AI. We'll start investing in 2027 when the pivots will inevitably come. Right? So we lag a little bit on the hot sector. You know what we're looking at right now? We're looking at all the space tech startups which got funded in 2021 and have made 2-3 pivots and now are sort of ready. We recently made an investment that we'll announce soon. It's a fintech player. The guys, they're 5 years old, right? They went to multiple pivots, learned a lot, right? SEBI changes regulation, adopted that, and so on and so forth. So see, in India, you'll have the usual hot sectors, right? They'll always be the same. You'll have e-commerce and it's a version of B2B and B2C. You will have fintech because finance is so important in both consumer and on the business side. You'll have, I know education is a bad word, but education is important and you will have education in there. And then of course, AI is very, very, very important, right? So what is happening is, just like the internet was a revolution, the AI is a revolution that is amidst us. If you're using Grok or ChatGPT, you can see the power of those applications, right? The other day, my father's blood report, I uploaded it to Grok, and it gave me the best analysis I've ever seen of that report. And they're doing it on the back of massive computing power, right? Elon Musk is talking about 500,000 GPUs. I saw, he posted yesterday, that by 2030 he wants to have data centers of 50 million GPUs, right? It's insane, right? So what they're trying to do is they're trying to create these massive brains which are going to sit and do that. And what the opportunity for Indian founders is to build applications on top of that, of course, to utilize it, just like we did on top of the internet, on top of cloud. So those are sort of very interesting sectors right now.
Just for some lighter moment, we are pivoting as well. VCircle is pivoting from being a media company to a product company. So
there you go.
No, that's really true. We are also.
Tell us the story.
Yeah. No, we are actually investing a lot on our product front. We are investing a lot in building workflow solutions using generative AI and newer technologies. You don't get FOMO. Personally, as somebody who is running this business, I am really in FOMO as well because I see everywhere generative AI it is transformational, right? It is not like any other technology. I look at startups in the US which are doing anything in financial sector. I completely get afraid of those people. What they're going to do to my business. So you're saying you were waiting for the pivot. So you are not getting those FOMOs?
It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to keep that FOMO aside because everybody around you, and they're very smart people, right? All my peers are very smart people. They're all investing, and you're sitting, right? And you're like, you ask yourself this question all the time, So you do get scared. That boss, I'm not investing in it, others are investing in it. But we've seen this thesis hold. And we hold the thesis, right? So a very large part of investing is about discipline. See, FOMO to hamesha hota hai. Your company is doing very well, you want to keep putting more money. But what is the disciplined approach a fund should take? Never put 6 to 7% of your fund in any one company. We had a blow up, we had Go Mechanic, there was a fraud. But that fund of ours is still a 6x fund. Why? We never put we had actually only put 4% of the fund into the company. So you have to have discipline. I think one of the number one things a fund manager does is they have discipline. So discipline to stick to your thesis, discipline in allocation, discipline in diligence, very important.
I think that makes complete sense, Rehan. We have few minutes. We can take a few questions from audience, please. Can somebody please pass on the mic? Please stand at the back.
Hi, thanks a lot. It was a nice presentation, especially about this country delight story. I'm just curious about this Go Mechanic. Is it possible for you to share some details about when you figured it out it was a fraud? I'll tell you what, when I tried to get my car repaired by them, every time I would try to go to their app or their website, nothing would work. So I was just curious, why is it that nothing is working? So I'm just curious to figure out, when did you find out it was a fraud? Is there a possibility to share more details?
I'll tell you, I told the founders, this is the stupidest fraud I've ever seen because you guys never made any money from the fraud, right? So the service worked well. I don't know, the issues that you're talking about was not the issue. The service worked well. Everything was fine in the company. The fraud was that they inflated their numbers to raise money at higher valuations. There was no siphoning of money in the company. There was no lack of service in the company. Customers were very happy with the business. The fraud was only this, that they inflated numbers to raise at a higher valuation.
In fact, I think I myself had used their services when I was in Kolkata as a founder. And it was fine. I don't think there was any gap in the services as such.
One of the, our industry is actually blessed that it doesn't have too many silly things, but this was one of the silly things that happened.
Any other question? Do we have anything else? Okay. Rehan, any closing remarks for the founders probably? As a founder, not as a VC.
Sure. I think I've always said this for the last 20 years. I think India is an incredible platform to create companies. We have, just so much infrastructure, right? We have one of the world's best IPO markets, right? 324 main board IPOs last year. Right, you can exit your company. You build in the US, you have to build a very large company to exit it. Other places don't have good stock markets. You've got a great exit opportunities here. You have a lot of venture capital now in India. You have a huge ecosystem. You have, most importantly, a very large market, consumer market, B2B market. It just keeps getting better and better. So I think no better time to start up, and I would encourage anyone who wants to go for it.
Thank you. Thanks, Rehan.
Thank you so much.